Insightful discussions and interviews on national progress, the latest developments in environmental, social, and governance, plus corporate social responsibility. Freedom 106.5 FM gives you a voice. Freedom to inspire, freedom to change. Speak your mind with Freedom 106.5 FM. In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM. Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's
Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the world. Welcome. Freedom 106.5 FM. Carrie V is here. I'm in the company going all the way to 6 p.m. And with me, I have no other than our favorite people, we the youth. It's happening from 3 to 5 p.m. today. Are you yawning? Are you tired? Anarian?
No, I am not. That is excitement.
I saw that. I saw the excitement in your face. Hello, Rudy. How are you?
I am very excited. I'm glad to be back in studio with you guys.
Yes, we too, you know.
I know you all missed me on
we
Monday.
We didn't. I mean, yes.
Tuesday, I gave you a little bit of a teaser.
I did. I missed you, but let me just say, Anarian had the most to say.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
I listen, you know.
You see? I told you he's listening.
But I'm glad to be back, and we have a great topic today to talk about. Of course, as usual.
I know, like every other day, of course, this is We the Youth. We have it every Monday to Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. here with Anarian Mason and Rudolph Hanamji. So welcome, guys, welcome. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. And of course, we will be taking your calls as today we are discussing security, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
It's our nation.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to claim back our security.
Our nation trying to claim back our security. Wow. Yeah.
And you know, Carrie, this topic should be specifically important to younger people because older people have had a chance to live in a more secure Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
They have amassed resources and they have been able to enjoy life with certain freedoms,
right, that
all of us can't have as we used to now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look around at younger people, Aaron and I were having this conversation as going out on a date.
Right.
You remember when we were teenagers, we were in our early 20s and we would be trying to form relationships. You felt so free to take a long drive or go for an evening walk.
Yeah, and walk home.
Walk
I remember
home.
I got walked home and I was like, this is nice. You know, the romantic kind of vibe.
Would you believe I'm still afraid right now to park on the lookout over the Lady Young?
Things like that.
I've stopped that.
But young people are
be.
literally being robbed of childhood experiences or youth experiences that we probably took for granted.
Yeah.
And on top of that, remember, the worse that crime gets, the larger the impact on the overall economy and the society. And they are going to be inheriting all of those problems.
Right.
And what adds a lot of salt into this wound and maybe some vinegar and scorpion pepper.
Oh my gosh.
It's the simple fact that too many younger people are being attracted into a life of crime.
Mm-hmm.
And I am hearing older people blaming them.
Right.
And not taking responsibility and culpability for the role that the elders had to play,
In
the
their lives.
society becoming the way that it is today.
Correct. And I must agree with you, Rudy, because here's why. These youth, or these persons, the older folks saying, it's the youths and them and they get involved in crime. But newsflash, check this out. Y'all raised us, so it's not really our fault.
Or did they actually raise us or not? Because a lot of young
There
people
you go.
grow up in broken homes.
True.
And
While
the only thing they could have done was probably go and line on the block or the football field with older kids their age, or persons around their ages,
Who may have had
who may have had a negative
Negative
influence.
influence.
But that
on them.
doesn't take away the fact from you as a parent. You as a parent, let's say for instance a single parent, and you have like about 3 kids, but you have to go to work all the time,
Yes.
right? So
and
more
you
than
chose
likely,
to have these children.
right? Well, true. Whilst you
If you-
choose to have the children, that would be a conversation for our next day.
Next
and
day,
and
yeah.
some people let's get touchy when it comes to that. But what I'm saying, hear me out a bit, right? So when it is they go to work and they had to keep the children at them home, when they come back, or let's say for instance in a community, usually you would hear certain things, right? So as a parent, you might hear like the neighbor saying, I see Rudy Lyman there with Anarian, and
Yes.
everybody in the community knows
Used to know.
what Anarian
And
used
had
to
a-
do.
And
Wow.
they
And
were
as a
encouraged
parent-
to have a role in that.
Correct.
child's
And as a
upbringing.
parent, me as a parent, I had to be like, hey, come back. What you doing Lyman with Anarian? But and start that way now.
I understand that, but what about moral compass? Not everybody have a moral compass.
Oh, like the parent, you mean?
The parent, well,
But
yes,
that-
the parents we're talking about.
Right, so that brings me back to my point. So that's my point. So it's not where you place the blame solely on the youth.
You can't. That is irresponsible, because public policy is required to shape the society that you want. And for too many years, we've had enough data, evidence, and crimes being committed by younger people to reinforce the notion that our public policy has not been working. And where parents may falter, the role of the government, the state, is to have interventions in social services with social workers through the
Right.
school system, etc. And people may say, oh, well, there are a lot of programs that the state offers, like MyLat and MyPart and
But that
CPAP and-
mightn't work for everybody.
that is it. What we are really missing at the core, we sort of jumped into the topic, right?
Right.
But what we're talking about first, I guess, is the simple fact that younger people are becoming the foot soldiers of the main criminal activity that
Right.
is plaguing the nation.
Right.
So let's deal with that piece of it first, right?
Okay.
And what we are saying is that there are several layers, several variables that lead to that. We've said one variable is poor parenting.
Right.
Another variable is simply that education systems may not attract their attention and
Right.
fit certain children, so they look for guidance elsewhere.
Right.
Anarian, you have some other points.
I
I
was
know.
just going to make a very ironic statement that people are looking at young people taking over the national security or the crime issues, but we're not taking over the country in a positive aspect. So they're not willing to give up the leadership to the young people, but they're willing to blame young people for the crimes and the drugs
Well,
and all these different
I
things.
find it is very convenient to turn around and say that all them young people lost, we give them enough
And
opportunity.
that is it. The wash
and
them out.
they
The
work
wash
less.
them. Yeah, the wash them out on the youths.
You have the responsibility. You sit in the positions of authority with the national resources to craft the right policy. And people like Professor Selwyn Ryan, I encourage young people and everybody in society to go on Google and search for Professor Selwyn Ryan's report. It is
Professor-
available publicly.
Okay.
Are
he-
you searching for it already?
He
Gary?
wrote
Yes.
an entire report about a decade ago that centered around the plight of young people, explained in detail what goes on in somebody's life. And Carrie, what is also sad? Some of us could have ended up in the same position
Yeah.
as our peers, you know.
Correct.
One small change in your life
Mm-hmm.
could mean the difference between you, for example, finishing school,
Yeah.
having someone in your family system who gives you that moral support to say, look, the exam is hard, but let us sit down, let
Yeah.
us go through it. And that could make the difference.
Now, mind you, let me give you all a real life story, right? I born and bred and grow in Maloney Gardens, right?
Right.
Now,
You never told me you were my
Yeah.
neighbor for all those years.
what going on here? Look, we had a drink of beer. Sorry. So let me tell you something. Where I grew up,
Yes.
right? All we have seen is a lot of activities that a lot of persons do not agree with. And the difference is that my mom, it was 4 of us and her alone.
Right.
When we hear Miss Lois coming home, watch now, is the quickest we get inside there. And mind you, I don't know how that lady used to know, but she used to know everything we do when the day come. All right? When I was going to school, now I had friends around my age.
Right.
So, and some of them has gone left.
Right.
Some like myself or 2 of us gone right. So as you mentioned that we were all offered the same opportunities because we all went to the same primary school.
Right.
We all went to the same secondary school. In some cases we all went to the same senior sec because I went to a junior sec and then a senior come, right?
Right.
Which for the younger people out there
Or it's secondary
was something
now.
we used to have.
Yeah, morning
We-
chef and evening
Yes.
chef, right? So the thing is, we were all offered the same opportunities, but then it comes back to parenting and how parents parented.
And the teachers. We can't forget the role of teachers in society. Because in my schools, especially where some of the children came from disadvantaged backgrounds,
Right.
or what we term in inverted commas broken homes, etc.
Right.
Right.
You used to see teachers back then taking up a more active role, and they would
And I remember something.
compliment the parents.
I don't remember something.
But there are some parents today who would go into a school and chastise the
The
teacher
teachers, yeah,
for
correct.
correcting their children.
Let me give you all a true story, right? When I was in standard 5, I thought that it was the common entrance was too hard, right? So what I used to do, I used to wait until my mom go to work. Now I'm living right next door to the school, so I used to pretend like walk downstairs and then come back upstairs. So I watching TV, I ain't bang 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 bang, knocking on the window. Cara, me now. Why that sound like Mr. Selena? So my standard
You see?
5 teacher, when I peep through the
Wow.
window, Cara, I know you inside. Come outside. Come on. And you know, my best friend, big up Kefi Hernandez, at the time, she brought Mr. Selena to my house because
That
we
is a
were
friend.
best. Of course.
That is a
Kefi
friend.
Hernandez. So she's married
Wow.
now. I can't remember her married name. But she brought my standard 5 teacher to my house. And you know what she did? She said, Cara, you're inside. You need to come outside now because I know you are here. And that was a friend, you know. And he came there and gave me
So you
the
just
cut
raised
skin of my
and
life.
You raised the other variable, our peers.
No, I hear Carrie mention something. She get cut skin.
Yeah,
So,
I get my
that
skin.
abolishment of corporal
Nah,
punishment.
that wasn't
may-
it. There used to blaze with tail.
Yeah, I used to get it too in primary school.
You
It was
see-
abolished after I left.
But Anarian, again, let's use that as a prime example of public policy gone awry. It is a public policy whether or not to have corporal punishment. The policy was changed. However, when you make a shift in public policy where you take something out of the system,
You have
need
to get
have,
something to replace it.
You have to
And
have
that's what did not
the
happen.
corollary
Mm-hmm.
to say, well, we're not going to approach discipline with this tool.
However,
However, we are putting A, B, C, D in place.
Correct.
Because all human beings are animals at the end of the day. We sometimes forget that. And in a very similar way that you have to train animals, we have to be trained. And sometimes that level of training requires force.
true.
Now, what that force looks like, what that force, the form that force takes, can vary, but we can correlate the lack of in the lack of discipline,
Right.
the indiscipline in schools, to that point in time when that particular public policy was changed. And then on top of that, you had further breakdown of the parenting system.
Right.
You had even worse crime, attraction to crime. And you had, of course, the fact that within the teaching sector,
Right.
you had a lot of younger teachers coming in
Yeah.
who didn't have that experience.
Yeah. So, guys, it's almost 3:15. We've got to take a break. And that's just an intro to what we are speaking about today here on We the Youth. When we come back, we are going to introduce our guest and get the conversation going. So, continue sending me those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. I must say good afternoon and happy birthday to my guy, Dwayne Phil. Today is his birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
So when we come back, it's much more. We already started getting messages, Rudy.
Excellent.
Carrie
Keep
V,
them coming.
don't spare the rod and spoil the child. Correct. So we're going to take a break and be back. Keep it locked. It is Freedom 106.5 FM.
This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Attention! Horse racing enthusiasts! Free parking! Free entry! Yes! You heard right! Get ready for an unforgettable Easter Monday, April 21st at Santa Rosa Park Arima, where Arima Race Club invites you to enjoy all the action absolutely free. The energy kicks off from 1:30 p.m. with 5 thrilling races, including the highly anticipated Champagne Stakes, sponsored by NLCB. Open to all horses 3 years and over. Arrive early and enjoy our exciting promotion. After the first race, 5 lucky losers win $200 vouchers to place a wager in the Champagne Stakes. Experience the global thrill with simulcast live streaming from Parks in Philadelphia, Kimanas Park in Jamaica, Palermo in Argentina. MBET is live online. Call 800-4BET to sign up and enjoy convenient top-ups and withdrawals through ACH. Tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM for accelerating live coverage from pole to pole. Come hungry, a well-stocked bar, and mouth-watering food options will be available for purchase with music by a popular DJ. It's the perfect time to bring your friends and family, make lasting memories, and bask in the thrill of the races. And remember, entry and parking are absolutely free, so don't miss out. Gates open early at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. See you at the races this Monday, April 21st.
And welcome back to We the Youth here, where we're discussing national security.
Episode 8.
It is. Time flies.
It really is amazing to be here on Freedom 106.5 and have this platform to bring youth leaders to the fore.
Yeah, so allow me to introduce a young lady I've known for about 3 years. I know her to be a very driven person in the realm of criminal justice, fighting for justice and fairness, mental health as well. So she aspires to be a prosecutor. So you all be careful out there. So allow me to introduce Jody
forewarned.
Contant. Jody, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Welcome, Judy.
Well, hi everybody. I am Jody. I don't know what to say. I'm really excited to be here. Currently, I am finishing up my degree at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, a bachelor's in public safety, criminology and public safety.
Excellent.
Yeah. After this, I aspire to go on to do my LLB and then my LEC, just become an attorney.
Nice.
So you all stay tuned as we dive into the conversation
I can't
right
wait
after
to
this.
hear
Yeah.
your views on this topic.
We're going to take a break and be back. Keep it locked.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They attack CARICOM. They undermine local institutions such as the EBC, the court, and high independent officers, dangerous gimmicks to slow their political demise. They are coarse, irresponsible, and reckless in their handling of diplomatic relationships. Their party is in shambles, with mass resignations and in-depth public warnings from party leaders. They specialize in corruption, confusion, and chaos. They are not ready. They are not responsible. With the UNC, everyone loses. The PNM is a responsible government on a solid foundation. Together, let's write the next chapter. On April 28th, vote PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
And welcome back.
Welcome back.
To We the Youth, episode 8.
We the youth?
We the Youth.
We the youth.
The. As
We.
some people, we the youth.
We the youth.
We the
We the youth.
D apostrophe.
Y-U-T-E?
Y-U-T, youth.
Hey, there's a new way to spell it. But let's not take away from Judy's
No.
spotlight. So, Judy, tell us why you went into this field and what got you into it.
Well, when it comes to, I always wanted to be an attorney, a criminal prosecutor,
Yeah, push your voice some more.
to be specific.
Speak like you're going to speak when you're in court prosecuting that case.
Yes,
Oh,
get him,
I'm
get
looking forward
him,
to Judy's first case.
get him.
Okay, no problem. So I decided after I finished secondary school, I was like, oh, well, I don't want to do Form 6. So I went
Okay.
straight into UTT and I got like all my passes.
Congratulations.
Which one?
Nice.
And then I went in, I applied, and I was accepted in probably 10 days, less than 2 weeks.
Nice.
So,
It took an hour and an entire year.
oh my god.
No,
That was
kidding, I'm kidding.
that was a secret.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
It's
kidding.
supposed to be. So you can't trust these people out here.
So when you got that acceptance letter, you must have felt really excited.
Well, I was like, oh, well, it's a stepping stone. Because
Okay,
I
okay.
basically am using this degree to go in to do my LLB.
Right.
And my parents asked me if I was sure I wanted to do this. I was like, oh, yeah, Daddy, I want to do it. And, well, I began the journey. At the start, I did not want to, I was like, oh, maybe I should have just gone straight into law. But I'm really glad that I stayed and I stuck it, through. I did it thoroughly. Because the courses that I did would help me to help me to, I guess, enhance my ability to protect.
Be able to
My
to be a-
clients.
It's. I love that you made that point, Judy, because I can tell you, as someone who's slightly older, that no experience that you have is going to be a wasted one. Sometimes, as you said, people go straight from secondary school into a degree and then they enter the profession of choice. In other countries, cultures are different, where young people actually take gap years or they go and perform internship programs and they start to learn different things. And why that is good is because when you finally enter the profession of your choice, you bring some of that color with you. So this decision that you took, I can tell you, as someone who sits sometimes on the side of a recruitment table and I have to interview people, we look for things like that, where because you would be competing with someone else maybe for a position and they would have gone straight into the program, the LLB, but they would not have had your initial training and experience, and chances are you will beat them out. So younger people out there listening, it's a highly competitive environment, and while we need everyone, try your best to broaden your experience before you enter the world of work. It really helps.
It does. And just so you all out there know, I don't know if she mentioned, her first degree is in criminology. So she's going to talk a little more about national security, and I want you to understand the background that she's coming with. She's knowledgeable. So, Jody, in a young perspective, what do you think about our current state of national security?
Well, in the past, like 10 years, I noticed that national security tend to deteriorate, and we're now in an instability crisis. And I
Wow.
believe that it have a lot that can be done, and they're not doing it.
Like what?
Firstly, protecting the borders. Because
Right.
We've heard about that.
when my perspective is that when we allow the Venezuelans that coming in through the open borders, because specific agencies are not probably doing their job correctly, we are also facing a human rights crisis, because sometimes they're bringing in children and there are no documentation for them. And education education is important, and we are violating their human rights as by not educating them.
Right.
And another thing is the transnational crime problem we're facing. I mean, how can you tell me that we're getting high-powered rifles in here? Like, how are we importing that? Where is it coming from?
Or where's it passing through? But then
Yeah.
again, you remember our borders are not fully protected or guarded as we would think.
But a lot of people say that since the Panama Canal was under construction, some renovations, Trinidad and Tobago has become that Latin America crime hub.
But people go back a little bit.
Uh-huh.
When we see some of the infrastructure that reminds us of when the Americans were here during the war, you should know that Trinidad and Tobago has always been an important location. We sort of sit in a magic space, which is both good and bad. So we've always been a transshipment point for different reasons. And what really gets me perturbed, Judy, and maybe you can shed some light on this, perhaps I'm being unfair, right? If we've always known that, we've always known of our importance for good and bad actors, and we've had over 30 years plus discussions around the border. I would like to believe that would have been the number one public policy for national security to be done within the first year. And Trinidad and Tobago is not a poor country. Trinidad and Tobago has a lot of allies. Tell me if I'm oversimplifying it, but if I were Prime Minister and I were to announce a public policy that I am going to partner with all of our allies, and in 1 year I'm going to secure our border, and you write to England, America, Canada, Brazil,
Down to China.
write each one of them and say, can each one of you all send some resources for us? I would like to believe that a little dot, our little rock in the ocean, could quickly be secured. Am I oversimplifying what is possible?
No, because I believe that crime is a business, and that is probably why they're not correctly securing our borders. Because they're benefiting from it.
Certain actors are actually benefiting,
Yeah.
and it's in their interest to keep it the way that it is. But us as young people, you're very brave to say that, because older people twice your age, do not want to admit that fact.
Of course not, because you'll be victimized.
Well, maybe they are also part of.
Well,
and
that is
that's
a
it.
possible solution scenario too, that they are probably benefiting from something.
And it brings me to say this, right? We know what the problem is.
We too, of course.
The bigwigs know what the problem is. Why we don't have solutions for it? And just as we could sit here and have a conversation and come up with solutions, so they can't think about
Do
these
you
solutions?
think there aren't solutions on the table in front of them? How many different civil societies and NGOs write policy positions, write recommendations, and send it out?
And Jody, when you're studying, you would deal with case studies. I'm sure these topics came up in class. There are solutions to these problems that have been tried and tested in different places or in the region. What do you all discuss, or where do you think young people should focus, like especially if they want to enter this field of work like you did? What are some of the opportunities that are tied to the possible solutions to solve this problem?
Some opportunities I would say would probably be educating the youth especially on the fact that of transnational crime.
What is transnational crime for the persons who are listening and they don't know? Just explain that a little bit first.
So, in my opinion, transnational crime is a global phenomenon that currently affects our nation. It's when, as stated earlier, we are in a strategic location here, and it makes it an easy accessible port for criminal activities to happen, such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, and stuff. And well,
so I think, in other words, transnational crime is something that occurs across the nations.
Right.
Where multiple entities or nations are involved. So, for example, drugs and ammunition, whatever, coming in from Brazil may pass through Trinidad to go to Cuba. So Trinidad becomes a trans hub for that.
So you see where our problem lies. Because if we here, four of us could sit down here and say, but wait now, if it's a transnational thing and it's easy to come in here, then why the heads of, let's say, for instance, national security didn't notice or not doing anything about that in particular?
Carrie, let us use one prime example of a deficiency. Oh, we have
before we continue. Yes, no, we have a break.
Okay,
it's just about 3:30. You see, so
up,
you see, like when we started talk, what has happened? 3:30, guys. That's my time check. We're gonna take a quick break and be back. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 3061-065, and of course send your voice notes as well. This is We the Youth, and we are talking about security. Yeah, we'll take a break and be back.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM. This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Attention! Horse racing enthusiasts! Free parking! Free entry! Yes! You heard right! Get ready for an unforgettable Easter Monday, April 21st at Santa Rosa Park Arima, where Arima Race Club invites you to enjoy all the action absolutely free. The energy kicks off from 1:30 p.m. with 5 thrilling races, including the highly anticipated Champagne Stakes, sponsored by NLCB, open to all horses 3 years and over. Arrive early and enjoy our exciting promotion. After the first race, 5 lucky losers win $200 vouchers to place a wager in the Champagne Stakes. Experience the global thrill with simulcast live streaming from Parks in Philadelphia, Kimanas Park in Jamaica, Palermo in Argentina. MBET is live online. Call 800-4BET to sign up and enjoy convenient top-ups and withdrawals through ACH. Tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM for accelerating live coverage from pole to pole. Come hungry, a well-stocked bar, and mouth-watering food options will be available for purchase with music by a popular DJ. It's the perfect time to bring your friends and family, make lasting memories, and bask in the thrill of the races. And remember, entry and parking are absolutely free, so don't miss out. Gates open early at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. See you at the races this Monday, April 21st.
Welcome back, Freedom 106.5 FM. Carrie V.
Well, live here.
Yeah, I just not forget your name and all, Arian. You see that pause I did?
I say that's pause for dramatic effect.
Oh, no. Okay,
Yes.
well, all right. Well, we could use it as that. Yeah. This is We the Youth, and we're going all the way to 5 p.m. And right now we are discussing.
National security. And we're joined by none other than Jody Contant, who's a young criminologist. And she was making some very serious points, and we needed to take a break. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Jody and let her continue about this transnational
Yes.
crime and where it goes in the country.
Now, transnational crime is really an issue, and as I stated earlier, we get like human trafficking. There's human trafficking and drug trafficking, arms trafficking, and in Trinidad and Tobago, it is not a secret. We have a lot of gang violence going on, and that it just all ties down to that, because gang violence in Trinidad and Tobago has a lot to deal with guns and ammunition and drugs.
And people sometimes they don't understand the way you might, Judy, all of the various connections, the dots that line up. So Carrie was asking a question earlier, and we were getting into a conversation about why, if we know these things, if there are certain people out there who are responsible for public policy and they have access to persons like yourself and others with training and expertise, why is it that we're not solving the problem? And we got into that piece of the conversation where perhaps there are vested interests in protecting the ecosystem. And I was going to make the point, Carrie, about this decades-long conversation about scanners at the ports. How many times?
But what's stopping them from actually doing it?
Well, sometimes you hear we don't have the money. Then you hear that the scanner not working. Then you hear that somebody sabotaged the scanner. Then you hear that the people think the scanner going to give them cancer, so they don't want to use it. I mean, let us get serious, people. You know, I don't know if it's probably a function of as you get older, you get fatigued, so you just throw your hands up in the air.
I think you
this
see,
is ridiculous.
And Narian made a point earlier, and he said maybe somebody is benefiting from it some way.
So let's look at we have to look at national KPIs. So Jody, you raised the point about border security. I have tried in preparing for this program to find what are the national KPIs for the Coast Guard.
And let me guess, you didn't find anything.
Well, they probably will tell us that it's national security.
So
right?
that's why they hide it, and we don't know.
However, when you have public officials in place, their role is to hold those security personnel accountable. What has been the performance? I want somebody to report to the nation on the performance of the Coast Guard in securing the borders. Because if the evidence is showing that the borders are still porous and things are getting through that and people are getting through that are not supposed to be, then the first line of defense I'm looking at for accountability is the Coast Guard. And then what about other technologies, Jody? Like, are we really exploring what is out there that we can use to surveil our borders properly? Like, are you aware of what is being invested in? Do we even know if we have a radar system that's I don't know, because it's almost like when you listen to the National Security Minister's press conference, you just get these very superficial reports about we're doing something. And do you know anything that we don't know, Jody?
Of course not. I mean, it's supposed to be public knowledge, right? I really don't know what they're doing, what they're putting in place to help the situation that we're currently facing.
Okay, what you thought about the SOE? In your eyes or in your view, what do you think that it was successful? Because we've heard the Minister of National Security say, well, you know, we had a decrease in crime and all the nice fluffy words. But to tell you the truth, when I go outside there, I still have to be looking over my back, even during the SOE. So give me your thoughts and your views on that. And do you think that the SOE that we had was a success?
Now, in my personal opinion, I do not believe the SOE was a success. No, it wasn't. Because, I mean, 2024 ended with, like, was it 5 murders, right before 2025? We
Yes,
ended with
that's true.
624 murders in total. And currently, we have over 100 and probably 15 murders as to date here. is that really working? Did it really help anything?
112 so far.
112.
And those are the ones that were recorded.
But
That we know
Carrie,
about.
Yeah.
The other point on the SOE is that, to my mind, and Judy, again, this is your area of expertise, an SOE gives us a sort of a flash in the pan approach to treating a symptom. But I didn't hear of any other policies to complement the SOE to solve the root causes of these problems. So what are some of the root causes that we should be focused on, like public policy should be
Trying to
laser
fix.
focused on to solve?
Now, when I was like doing my research to come here, and I saw an article in 2018 that was published stated that there were over 100 criminal gangs in Trinidad and Tobago, and there are two main gangs, and then there are subsets of those gangs who are
Wow.
also against each other.
Just now, 100 gangs, you're saying?
In 2018,
And
Yeah.
Arian, there are
I
more
saw-
gangs than steel bands.
I saw that
Wow.
same document around the same time it came out. And that was around the same time or just after they had the Hills versus the Muslims kind of fiasco taking place.
So sorry, Judy, but I didn't want that point to be lost on people.
And that was in 2018, eh?
In a small rock as ours is.
Wow. So
100 gangs.
Well,
Go ahead.
I wonder if it grew from 2018 to now.
now I personally do believe that it did grow because I mean, crime has drastically increased. I mean, as you stated, we were in an SOE since December. It's now April, and we are seeing very gruesome crimes happening.
Still.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what did that SOE really do for us in this country? It really didn't heighten anything. All it heightened was we was just
Our
told-
anxiety
Yeah. I
as
mean,
citizens.
mhm.
Yeah, when I was responsible for attracting foreign direct investment into Trinidad, I'll never forget this as long as I live. One of the businessmen he was visiting from Washington, I believe, and what we would do is we would send them on tours of the island so they could see different parts. So he came back to the office and he said, I can't do an American accent properly, but you all have a lot of bars in Trinidad and Tobago. So when you hear that, I'm sure you're thinking initially what I would think. I say, oh yes,
Yeah.
we like to party and
And
we have our own
lie, but-
bed. He said, no, bars on your houses.
But
Now you
he's
have to
talking about
remember,
burglar-proof.
and this is how insidious
Wow.
crime is.
Mm.
For us, we have become blind to burglar proof.
Mm.
Where he comes from, he has never seen that.
Wow.
So he was asked, and you have to give an honest answer.
Yeah.
And he said to us, well, that is definitely going to be a challenge because when our company is looking for a location, we do factor in the crime because remember they want to make
Yeah.
sure their employees are
Are
safe,
safe, yeah.
their executive team, if there's going to be additional cost because crime has a cost to business.
It does,
Of
yeah.
course.
When
yeah.
you have to hire security and you have to
alarm
install alarm
system
systems and all of these
cameras
things,
and those different things. yeah.
and unfortunately that is what gives rise to some of these conspiracy theories that there's a vested interest in crime being maintained because perhaps some people are being enriched because money has to be spent to react to the crime. But if you solve crime in the morning,
A
think
lot
about
of companies are going to go down.
we calling no names,
which
but
no-
people can connect the dots.
And listen, we can't solve crime. You have some of the older folks saying, no, you can't solve crime and crime will always be. I said, Once you look at El Salvador, right?
You mean America's
well-
America's
the
dumping ground?
dumping ground. No, but look at that. They went from one of the highest rated
Yes,
crime
criminal capital.
countries in the world to zero.
Yeah,
And
even so for our neighbor Jamaica, all crime is centered in one specific area of Jamaica. Outside because Kingston, I believe, right? So outside of that area, Jamaica is a tourist attraction that pulls any and everybody into it.
wow. So we could solve crime, you know.
Jody, we could solve crime?
Yes, I believe we can solve crime, but crime is a business. However, since they don't really want us to solve it, then we can control it to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
So perhaps when we come back,
When we come back from the
we'll
break,
get
we
into
would.
some of those ideas you have
Yeah,
about
I want to
control.
share some data points and all when we come back. So
Okay.
let's make those commercials
No
quick.
problems. So, guys, we're going to take a really quick break and be back. We are discussing security and, on national security right here on We the Youth with Carrie V, Narian Mason, and Rudolph Adamchi, and our amazing guest, Jody. Jody Contant, right? Yes. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break and be back. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. And just a reminder, coming up at the top of the hour of 4 p.m. news, courtesy Republic Bank Limited and Bagwan Singh's Hardware. We're going to take a break and be back.
Start your day with hard-hitting interviews and news with the Morning Rumble. Weekdays 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Freedom 106.5 FM. Join Satish Mahabe as he tackles the issues and controversial topics.
You don't need to tell the public why he appealing.
Well, I think he should.
No, what you think he should do and what he has to do is two totally different things.
You'll hear from the experts and have the chance to speak your mind on the topics of the day.
Do you have a question for our guest?
Yes, sir.
Get to the question, please.
Non-topic is off limits on the Morning Rumble. So whether you're just starting your day or stuck in traffic, join us weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for a morning show that will leave you informed, fired up, and ready to take on the world. The Morning Rumble with Satish Mahaber, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They attack CARICOM. They undermine local institutions such as the EBC, the court, and high independent offices. Dangerous gimmicks to slow their political demise. They are coarse, irresponsible, and reckless in their handling of diplomatic relationships. Their party is in shambles, with mass resignations and in-depth public warnings from party leaders. They specialize in corruption, confusion, and chaos. They are not ready. They are not responsible. With the UNC, everyone loses. The PNM is a responsible government on a solid foundation. Together, let's write the next chapter. On April 28th, vote PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106. I'm joined with my lovely host, Carrie V.
Oh, hi, I'm here. I'm here.
My awesome co-host, Rudolph Hanamji, and our amazing guest, Jody.
So, before...
Contant.
Contant.
It's French, guys.
It's French. So, we were corrected in the break, and, we are taking that. It's Contant. I like that.
And that is important. Young people out there, always speak up for yourself.
Yes.
Let people know who you are.
So
how to pronounce your name correctly.
I have a message, and I feel like that
Sure.
I must say this message before we continue. Carrie V, you young people are being too harsh on the government. It's only 9 years and 8 months. They are now getting the experience.
they're young. They're
and
young.
the PM was recently selected. So, only being too harsh. Thank you.
I don't think so.
Thanks,
So,
sir.
Anaran, tell us, are
Before
we
the
being too
break-
harsh?
No, I don't think so.
What is your data telling us?
Before the break, I was going to give you all some data
Yes.
facts, right? So, in the last budget reading, 24 to 25, there was 6.1, I'm just rounding up, $6.1 billion allocated to national.
billion?
Billion
Billies. Wow.
allocated to national security. Whilst that may sound like a high figure,
Yes.
It was the second, I believe. We discussed that on our our personal podcast. It was the second highest expenditure. Allocation, sorry. Out of that, the reoccurring expenditure from that 6 is almost 5 point something
Now
billion.
explain to people out there what you're talking
So
about.
the reoccurring expenditure goes into paying salaries, goes into paying the water bill, the light bill.
How much billion is it was?
5.1 something billion
Out
out
of
of the
6
6 point something.
What were you saying?
And you see, Carrie, right there, that is one of the reasons that the Portal for Accountability and Representation was created. Because when people read the headline, the average person is busy. You don't expect them to go and read these large, voluminous books. But they have to understand that when you hear the top line figure, what is really being spent in intervention programs
is now less than a billion, actually.
Wow.
So purchasing new technology or doing funding programs or doing initiatives
or boats
is
like keeping it
actually
simple, just buying boats.
900 and something million out of 6.1 billion.
And you said some is going in the 5.1, you said?
Right.
It
goes into salaries, it goes into water bill, utilities, rent for buildings, changing a tire, buying new vehicles.
And Ariane, what you saying?
I am telling you that's what it goes
And
for.
that
That's the
is why
recurring expenditure.
growing an economy, that is why growing an economy, increasing GDP, has to be front and center of any public policy. Because you need money to effectively implement government policy.
And you and I have had this conversation before where I made a recommendation. I don't know how far it reached. But that Komuto yard that is a graveyard for the police vehicles.
Right.
Yeah, I know about that.
We have local small and micro enterprises who do scrap iron. Sell the vehicles and use that that revenue to buy new vehicles. Tell me, for what reason do we need a Prado as a police vehicle?
But
Why?
well, that's a very good point.
Or the new model X-Trail.
And on top of that,
Right.
I want some accountability as well as to why so many vehicles end up in that yard in the first place.
Yeah, like, is it necessary to, like, why can't we just fix the vehicles that we currently have? I mean, in that graveyard, see, UTT has a campus up there, so I usually pass it, so I know what I'm speaking about when I say
Right.
that they can fix these vehicles. Because, I mean, maybe, even in new vehicles, I remember seeing a Hilux, one of their Hilux, with a big dent in it. Why is that brand new Hilux with a dent in it?
Wow.
And I
then
thought,
that-
Aaron, as well, what you were going to make the point about the SMEs is that you can employ all of these micro mechanics and the same young
yes,
people.
the same people.
This is the Carrie, this is the magic of properly looking at a country with the right lens. In coming up with solutions and developing policy, you have to always have tributaries from other spaces, so that by employing these people
Who are doing technical
you're
vocational
taking them
skills.
out of a life of crime.
And you could use them as, like
A
when...
painter,
yeah.
a mechanic.
and these are good, these skills, they could make money,
On
more
their
money
own
than some professionals do. So Jody, you really got us thinking so far about some real opportunities here.
Wow.
See, if we were to like fix these vehicles, we would create jobs, because I mean currently we're facing an unemployment crisis.
Which is feeding into crime.
Yeah, because I mean if I'm unemployed and I have like 4 kids and I'm a single parent, I don't know what I'm gonna do to feed these children.
And then your children, depending on the age they are, is seeing how you are struggling as a parent and probably saying, oh gosh, but I really want to help mommy, or I really want to help daddy. Let me see how I can get. And then some dodo head
Down the
out
road
on
say,
the on the block.
hey, I
say,
went
"Here
and
this
robbed
now."
this person and I make
No,
some.
not even that. Hey, here this now, Carrie, you want to make a little 500 or you want to make a little 1,000 or hold on to this summer and go and take that from that man.
Exactly.
And you now, as a youth, saying, but wait now, I could really help mommy pay the light bill, because she said that we're going to get cut, or she said we're going to get put out. So let me see if I could do this thing quick. You get through it at once. And they say, what? So easy, and that is where it starts, you know.
Yeah, it also have the running aspect. You remember the song Coming from Maruga? Right. So I didn't want to say it.
No, I saying it.
Right. So somebody hand you something and you just drive from point A to point B and you drop it off. And that
And
alone,
that's it.
you make money.
Wow.
You fill back your tank and you buy some nice
And
food
you
for
know,
your brothers and your
Anarian,
sisters and you're good.
And
As you
good to go.
mentioned that, it's time that people stop being hypocrites about this.
Elaborate.
I
Finish your point.
am yet to meet somebody who doesn't try their best to make as much money as they can in the easiest way that they can.
Somebody
in
now
their
say, please
profession.
don't justify crime. We're not doing that. We're just
No,
saying the reality.
And comments like that are part of the problem. Because unless you really are honest about what is going on in front of you in your society, you will never solve the problem.
Yeah, you need to come out of that bubble.
So, for example, privileged people like myself,
Yeah.
unless we give up some of our own privileges,
Pass some
Carrie,
here. Right here.
then how do you expect people to access certain resources?
Yeah.
There is no equity in the society.
And that is where the private sector comes in to help the public sector get initiatives off the ground.
Because there are people who wear suits and ties that have no excuse that those young people have. But they are also involved in crime. So what is their justification? Their light bill not getting cut?
Nope.
But they will encourage the same problems that Jody's talking about. They encourage the drugs and the guns
don't want-
and the broken system.
This is my point of view. I'm not calling anybody out. But no person in a very rural backward area could go and afford a gun or a
Just
pound
but-
of drugs.
You know where's
They
it?
are being
No, but-
financed somewhere.
But
That's
not-
that fully. Sorry, not to cut you across, Jody, but that fully a gun that it have on the streets that they're robbing people. You feel that boy who pulling that trigger buying that? You know how much for that?
No, I mean they're being given these things because. Can you please explain to me how these high-powered rifles come in through our ports?
How?
It just doesn't make
Exactly.
sense.
So we cannot look at people and just simply say, well, you are a waste of time. We've given up on you. And as we began the program, I know we're at the top of the hour. As we began this hour, we said, older people cannot take themselves out of it. They can't say it's not our responsibility. We have all played some role in either staying too quiet when government policy fails,
Yeah.
or there are people out there who are actively allowing this to continue because they have a vested interest in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And coming down the line, what are teachers all taking their roles of responsibility seriously? Are parents doing their job? Are the police service men and women doing what they are
They're
supposed to be doing? Or at every level. And Jody, I think when we come back in the next hour, we want to unpack some of these because there's so many variables to look at. It really does seem sometimes like it's insurmountable, but I think you'll share with us some insights on how we can really start attacking the problem.
So before we get more into the meat of it, let's take the break because we may...
Well, we have the 4 p.m. news coming up. We still have about a minute and a half. So maybe we could wrap up the conversation what we were having.
Well, Anaran, give us a few more data points before we wrap.
So, for example, the Ministry of National Security alone, that governing body, was given 2.3 billion from the 6. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service was given 2.5. So if my maths is correct, that is just 4 point something, right?
Right.
Where the next 1 point something went for the reoccurring.
We'll get back with that. We'll get back to that discussion.
Right here, We
Thank
the
you
Youth.
so much. Yeah, We the Youth, Carrie V, Anarian Mason, and Rudolph Anamji. And we have our beautiful guest with us, Jody Contant. Yes. So 5 p.m. news is next, courtesy Republic Bank Limited and Bagwan Singh's Hardware. Keep it locked.
Expression is who we are. Take control. The all-new Talk Radio. Freedom 106.5. Speak your mind.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. Included sister stations, Sky 99.5 FM, Vibe City 105 FM, 95 The Ultimate One, Sangeet 106.1 FM, and Slam 100.5 FM. This is the 4 p.m. news, courtesy Bhagwan Singh's Hardware and Republic Bank Limited.
Good afternoon, I'm Akash Samaru with headline news brought to you by CNC3, The Guardian newspaper and the TBC radio network. The life of an aspiring footballer attached to the Arima North Secondary School program has been cut short due to gang-related violence. 17-year-old Ezekiel Ramdial Singh was gunned down in La Hockita last evening. The former defender and 2023 East Intercall winner was shot in the chest and taken to the Arima Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. He graduated from secondary school last June. The Differently Abled movement is today calling for a meeting with Prime Minister Stuart Young and Opposition Leader Kamla Persad Bissessa before the April 28th general election to discuss why the disability grant must be increased. Speaking outside the Red House, even though Parliament is dissolved, President Nikisha Pierce says the $2,000 grant they currently receive is not enough to cover their monthly expenses.
We know that costs are high and are rising every day, and we are already limited by our disabilities and whatever insecurities or whatever we encounter every day. But yet still we are forced to survive with $2,000. $2,000 barely make the 5 first days of the month. The rest of the month we are forced to rely on family, friends, or even strangers.
Now, in a truly bizarre incident, a suspect headbutted the window of a police vehicle during a violent fracas with officers in Penal. He then proceeded to chew the shattered glass. The incident happened around 2 this morning after officers responded to a report of death threats and the breach of a protection order. This occurred at B-Mall Branch Tray, San Francisco Road. Police said the man was armed with a cutlass, threatening his relatives and attempting to set their home on fire. Officers struggled to arrest him, and one was struck repeatedly while another was spat on. He was eventually handcuffed and placed in the backseat of the police vehicle, but then the suspect reportedly slammed his head into a window, shattering it. He then began chewing the pieces of glass. He was eventually taken to the Siparia Health Facility for treatment, and charges are expected to be laid soon. Well, this has been Headline News. Look out for another news update at the top of the hour.
And that was a 4 p.m. news on Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network. The 4 p.m. news was courtesy Bhagwan Singh's Hardware and Republic Bank Limited.
Walking the streets or crossing the road? Stay off your cell phone. This can save your life. A message courtesy Bhagwan Singh's Port of Spain and Chaguanas, building Trinidad and Tobago for a better world. Let's do our part to save our environment. Do not litter on our beaches and rivers. Put all garbage in a bag and dispose of it properly. A message courtesy Bhagwan Singh's Port of Spain and Chaguanas, building Trinidad and Tobago for a better world.
That email or SMS seems suspicious. Be aware of its intent, could be vicious. That phone call or voice note sounds too serious, too good to be true, probably fictitious. Don't be fooled by online imposters, promising things that are gonna cost ya. Be aware, protect your data and money. Stay aware, stay alert, stay secure.
You can outsmart the scammers. A message from Republic Bank. Report any suspicious activity to customer care at rfhl.com.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM. 106.5 FM.
your solution for current affairs and talk. Join the conversation today as we build a better nation. Insightful discussions and interviews on national progress, the latest developments in environmental, social, and governance, plus corporate social responsibility. Freedom 106.5 FM gives you a voice. Freedom to inspire. Freedom to change. Speak your mind with Freedom 106.5 FM.
Attention, horse racing enthusiasts! Free parking, free entry. Yes, you heard right. Get ready for an unforgettable Easter Monday, April 21st at Santa Rosa Park Arima, where Arima Race Club invites you to enjoy all the action absolutely free. The energy kicks off from 1:30 p.m. with 5 thrilling races, including the highly anticipated Champagne Stakes, sponsored by NLCB. Open to all horses 3 years and over. Arrive early and enjoy our exciting promotion. After the first race, 5 lucky losers with $200 vouchers to place a wager in the Champagne Stakes. Experience the global thrill with simulcast live streaming from Parks in Philadelphia, Kimanas Park in Jamaica, Palermo in Argentina. MBET is live online. Call 800-4BET to sign up and enjoy convenient top-ups and withdrawals through ACH. Tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM for accelerating live coverage from pole to pole. Come hungry, a well-stocked bar, and mouth-watering food options will be available for purchase with music by a popular DJ. It's the perfect time to bring your friends and family, make lasting memories, and bask in the thrill of the races. And remember, entry and parking are absolutely free, so don't miss out. Gates open early at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. See you at the races this Monday, April 21st.
Power up your Saturdays with Carrie V's electrifying energy on Speak Your Mind Saturdays. Here, you're not just tuning in, you're transforming the show into a vibrant tapestry of opinions, laughter, and spirited debates. Get set for a day packed with the fun, the burning issues, and Carrie V's infectious personality. Join the fun, fuel the conversation. Speak Your Mind. Saturdays with Carrie V on Freedom 106.5 FM.
And welcome back to We the Youth, live here on Freedom 106.5 FM every weekday from 3 to 5 p.m. We're discussing national issues and public policy with youth leaders in specific areas. We're so pleased to have with us on the production board Miss Carrie V.
Woot, 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 woot.
Carrie, thank you for sharing your time with us
on
an
afternoon.
afternoon.
Of course, you can take it.
My name is Rudolph Hanamji, and I'm joined by my co-host Anarian Mason.
And Rudolph, today our topic is a fiery one.
Yes,
because
our
we're talking about
nation,
guns and drugs and violence.
our security.
Our nation, our security.
You know what's part of national security as well? The fire service.
Yes, certainly.
And you know how many issues and challenges we have with that as well.
Tragedies.
I don't know
even
if we would have...
as high as the parliament, irony of ironies, we lost an MP because of poor infrastructure and planning at the fire service level.
Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't she live just a couple of minutes
away
away
from
the
the
fire?
Well, I can tell you personally because my grandparents grew up in that block.
Right.
She literally is around the corner from the fire station.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So they didn't have enough hose to run from the fire station to the
Well,
house?
Well, maybe
because apparently they didn't have an engine on site.
Oh, and what about water?
And partly because apparently another station was shut down and the tender was servicing some other. You see, again, everything, that's why this program was created. Everything centers around public policy. And if your public policy is that you must be able to serve X jurisdiction, X radius, then you will know how many fire stations you need, you will know how many fire tenders you need, you will have the right amount of staff.
You know when they does remember that? When there's a FET and you know you need how much officers.
No, but I hear you, and that is what stings us, Anarian. When this country is ready to utilize our brains, we can.
Exactly.
But for some reason, Carrie, for these issues that have been plaguing us for decades,
and I would keep saying what Anarian mentioned earlier. Somebody, somehow, some way is benefiting from it.
The young people of the nation, we aren't benefiting. And
Well, true.
we have no.
Are we the
vested
collateral
interest.
damage?
So you know what is going to happen coming out of this? Be forewarned, all of those out there. I want to see them stand up against the hordes of young people who are going to finally take their ownership of this country. And that's why, Judy, during the break, you mentioned that we have a sort of a starting point to look at the solution. So tell us, what is the framing and where do we go from here in disaggregating and unpacking all of these complex pieces of the puzzle?
Now, I do believe that we can pump more resources into crime prevention initiatives, and as like opposed to into the criminal justice system, because this would be a really good approach into addressing the root causes of crime. You know, from like we have a lot of gang violence, and as you all stated earlier, that the youths play a big role in fulfilling specific roles when it comes to gangs. Like, you know, let me take this from you and you drop it for Jim, and that kind of vibe, you know? So it would be important for us to deal with from juvenile delinquency to white collar criminals, you know, those in high places who, you know, have some part, you know, in trafficking the drugs and guns and bringing it into here.
I see we have a call. We can
Sure.
take this one.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see who's there. Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome to We the Youth.
Good afternoon, Karibi.
Hey, what's up? Talk to us.
Good afternoon to you guys. I just tuned into your program, and I'll tell you something. Crime and criminality starts in the home. It starts with basic parenting, and if you don't have that, you're going to get criminal. If you have children, parents. I have had the unfortunate opportunity of hearing how parents deal with their children.
Right.
On many occasions, I was driving home. Parent was crossing with an 11 or 12-year-old child and telling the boy, I didn't know why you cussed that teacher, you know, how you going to let that effing teacher cuss
And
you
we
too?
said that earlier in the first hour.
The first hour, yeah, you missed it. That was
That
the
is
first
an
point we
example.
started off with.
Thank you for
proper
sharing a
parenting.
real, because we said
Right,
something
and,
like that. Wow.
There was another incident where a child did a sum. They got the answer correct, but they didn't get the working correct. Now, it was of the teacher's opinion that the child Googled the answer. When presented that to the parent, the parent get vexed with the teacher and tell all they don't know, tell them all they don't know, all they're doing, and my child get the sums correct and all kind of things. But the teacher keep telling the parent the working is wrong. So you have to, I'll tell you something. There's a saying, I think it's one of Benjamin Franklin or somebody said it. If you do not teach your children, you're going to have to teach your adults. And this is the situation that Trinidad finds itself in.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much for your call. And he correct, you know. If you don't teach your children, you may have to teach adults. Because
Well,
you know when you reach adults, you're big and you ain't want to take
we were
no
talking
lessons, right?
during the break about the fact that, and to Judy, to your point about crime prevention initiatives, one of them probably has to be, we have to begin holding parents accountable for their children's actions and passing legislation and public policy that forces parents to do what parents are supposed to be doing firstly, as a first line of defense. Because if your underage child is not in school when they're supposed to be, or they have found themselves in some type of illicit activity, you can't claim to be unaware and somehow not responsible.
Parents, we does see signs, but you know what we do? We bypass those signs. We see it.
So Jody, you were getting us into that mindset. So we spoke about an opportunity like that to have more parental oversight. But what other types of prevention examples should we be really looking at and advocating for?
Now, I want to go back to the point that the caller stated.
Right.
Something I learned at school was the social learning theory. And he's right, like our environment and the things we're taught, the first lessons from the stage of like baby to like 3, 4, 5. That stage is a crucial stage in our
Yes.
life and
Right,
in
yeah.
our developmental state. And if as a parent you're telling this child, oh, why you didn't cuss the teacher?
Right.
See where you're going there.
So you're teaching them to disrespect authority, right?
And an adult.
Right.
So it's
and the
the-
whole system of
Yeah.
structures and discipline.
So guys, we need to take a really quick break, but we have messages coming in. Let me just read out this message, and then when we come back from the break, we're gonna answer to it. Saying that crime and criminality starts in the home, to me, it is just throwing your hands up in the air. The society must have positive systems in place to cater for those who fall through the cracks. And listen, we agree with you, but you know what the reality
It takes
is?
both. It's both.
Well, true.
It's all.
But and then we're not taking that responsibility. And accountability. 4:15. We're gonna take a break and be back. This is We the Youth, and we are discussing national security. We'll be back.
Tune in to Betterments with host Bass, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for a program that educates and is solution-based. Bass tackles the issues that matter to you, providing a platform to speak your mind and find solutions. That's Betterments with Bass, with a focus on education and resolution. This is all about making things better for you. You can reach us via phone and WhatsApp to share your thoughts and find solutions to the issues that matter to you. So if you want to make a difference and have your voice heard, tune into Freedom 106.5 FM and join us for Betterments with Bass, Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Better for you. Only on Freedom 106.5 FM, where we believe that your voice matters.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
Attention! Horse racing enthusiasts! Free parking! Free entry! Yes! You heard right! Get ready for an unforgettable Easter Monday, April 21st at Santa Rosa Park Arima, where Arima Race Club invites you to enjoy all the action absolutely free. The energy kicks off from 1:30 p.m. with 5 thrilling races, including the highly anticipated Champagne Stakes, sponsored by NLCB, open to all horses 3 years and over. Arrive early and enjoy our exciting promotion. After the first race, 5 lucky losers with $200 vouchers to place a wager in the Champagne Stakes. Experience the global thrill with simulcast live streaming from Parks in Philadelphia, Kimanas Park in Jamaica, Palermo in Argentina. MBET is live online. Call 800-4BET to sign up and enjoy convenient top-ups and withdrawals through ACH. Tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM for accelerating live coverage from pole to pole. Come hungry, a well-stocked bar, and mouth-watering food options will be available for purchase with music by a popular DJ. It's the perfect time to bring your friends and family, make lasting memories, and bask in the thrill of the races. And remember, entry and parking are absolutely free, so don't miss out. Gates open early at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. See you at the races this Monday, April 21st.
And welcome back to We the Youth right here on Freedom 106.5 FM. I'm joined by the lovely Carrie Fee, Rudolph Hanamji, and Jody Counter.
No.
Canton.
No.
Canton. Get it right.
I did study French in school, right?
Right, Canton.
So our topic today is our nation, our security. And when we hear national security, we only tend to think, the drug trafficking, the guns, the murders, things like that. But national security also includes simple things like burglary, going into somebody's plantation and thieving, which is actually called petty larceny. Then you have the things that other people get involved in, such as embezzlement, fraud, is money laundering.
Yes.
And you have like possession of narcotics. as simple as we've legalized the amount of marijuana you can hold in your hand at any given point in time. If you exceed that weight, there's a crime, and that is still part of national security. Then there are also things that
selling cigarettes to a minor is a crime.
And alcohol.
And alcohol. So you're right. Even things that are regulated have criminal liability depending on the context.
And then there's gender-based violence. There's rape.
Which is
there's
horrible in
incest.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Let me just cut you all across. I have a message here
Sure.
coming from Melissa. She said, can we talk about how the reformation of the education system is so critical as a crime interventions early mechanisms? The system does not cater for neurodivergent learners. It does not promote children who are art learning or art leaning. It does not cater for the innovators either. If we don't fix this, we are stuck in a loop of children failing in this archaic system and not able to generate revenue for themselves. Head to the front of the class. No, well, it's at 4:21.
Thank you very much, Melissa, because earlier we were making that point that the education system has failed many
Miserably.
children.
Yeah, definitely.
And Jody, to your point about interventions, crime prevention, it must involve education reform.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just
Because
about that.
You were sharing with us something that is happening at COSTAT as we talk about education. What was that example?
COSTAT has...
So before you continue or after custard, let's just take one break, and then when we come back, we would get into that, all right?
Okay.
So guys, continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 306 so 1065. It's just about 420. Hey, 420. 420. 420.
420. What were we speaking about earlier?
We're gonna take a break and be back. Give it luck.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They attack CARICOM. They undermine local institutions such as the EBC, the court, and high independent offices. Dangerous gimmicks to slow their political demise. They are coarse, irresponsible, and reckless in their handling of diplomatic relationships. Their party is in shambles, with mass resignations and in-depth public warnings from party leaders. They specialize in corruption, confusion, and chaos. They are not ready. They are not responsible. With the UNC, everyone loses. The PNM is a responsible government on a solid foundation. Together, let's write the next chapter. On April 28th, vote PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
And welcome back to We the Youth, episode 8, right here on Freedom 106.5 FM. Today's topic is Our Nation, Our Security. Each day from 3 to 5 p.m., We the Youth brings a youth leader in a specific area of national policy to advocate for young people's genuine inclusion in not only developing such policies but implementing them. And today we are so privileged to be joined by Jody Carton.
Hello, Jody.
She's been sharing with us as a criminologist and legal mind in training, someone who wants to become a prosecutor in the criminal space to ensure that those who breach the law face the full brunt of it and there's justice. Jody, I asked you before the break to give us an example because we were talking about education interventions and you were sharing something that COSTAT implemented.
So,
let's hear about that good news.
Recently, well, I learned about this very recent, but in 2024, COSTAT, they started this initiative called Link Up. So basically, it's a prison to college pipeline. They are providing a foundation of skills to allow persons to become entrepreneurs.
And that is amazing because that will help with recidivism. Again, for those out there,
we
that
have
is
a friend actually, Rudy, Brandon Abraham and Abraham House.
correct.
Farms, who does that where he goes into the prison on Saturdays and he teaches them hydroponics. He goes into the prison on Saturdays and he teaches them hydroponics farming. And he's been trying to get you and I to come there for the longest while. But our busy schedule being nation developers. And
No, I
everything.
thought since I escaped, they didn't want me to go back. But because they can't handle me in there, right? No, but
So they kick you out.
They kick me out. But the point is, when you hear these terms, recidivism is simply put the likelihood that somebody will repeat crime and re-enter the correctional system. What we want to do, as Jody is explaining, is to have more interventions that facilitate people not falling back into a pattern. Now, I became very friendly with a former resident of the YTC Correctional Institute. A young man who had gone through a very hard life, ended up there, but while there was trying to find ways to rehabilitate himself. He was released and he actually became an artist.
Right.
And he was doing some very positive, productive things. But nobody wanted to hire him, Carrie.
I think I know who you're speaking about.
I just don't want to call his name.
But I remember
but
him.
Recently, he was rearrested, and it broke my heart because this was one of those examples, Jody, where I saw firsthand somebody who had that opportunity to change their life, but because of how we have been unable to create, or you see, to really shift and solve this issue, we can't do it piece at a time. We have to have an all spectrum approach. We have to put the parenting in place, the job opportunities in place, the education retraining of the teachers, the message carry about the neurodivergent persons in society. We have to have the right police service in place with the right training. You have the technology. It has to all be done.
True at the same time.
Walk, chew, jump, sing. But you know what? We could do it. We could do this, because Jody, if people like yourself, if you and your colleagues were given the opportunity to add your human capital into the mix, wouldn't you all take up the opportunities to get involved and to assist the government in ensuring these policies are developed and implemented?
Yeah, definitely. That is why they need the youth perspective on things like that affecting our country. I mean, when at UTT, they give us the opportunity to do internships. So my first year internship, I did 3 months in the prison system. I've been to YTRC, Women's Prison. I've been to Maximum Security Prison and the Clarkson Bay Correctional Facility. And while I was at YTRC, I had the opportunity of interacting with these youths that came there, and then you realize recidivism, because of the society that we currently have, you would be like, oh well, he was arrested, okay, I don't want him, he's a criminal, I don't want him in my establishment.
There's a stigma that's
because we stigmatize them.
So then what are we supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? So another message said don't justify crime, but frankly speaking, what are they going to do?
No, I mean, if we don't give them opportunities, I mean, how do we expect them to become the word I want to use,
functional members of
Yes.
society.
functional members of society?
And it takes a lot. People like to use words like forgiveness and compassion. We're a very religious society, right? But I don't see, apart from the former commissioner of police telling us to pray crime away, which by itself was, to my mind, a ridiculous concept, when your role is not to lecture to us about the role of religion. Your role was to manage the police service so that we wouldn't be in this problem. But put that in a box for a minute, because ironically, imagine the police commissioner is allegedly involved in some form of illicit activity. Where do you go from here, Narayan?
Where does it stop?
Where do you go from here?
Well,
and in successive governments, almost every single administration, there have been very strong allegations of white-collar crime and public corruption.
And that is why young people don't vote. And I'm including myself in it because I am young. We don't trust the people that is being put before us.
Yeah. No, well, before we go to the break, because we have to go to a break soon, I must read a few messages here. Carrie V, and to your guests, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Fatherless children. Now, he made a statement here. I don't know if it's radio friendly, but...
you could
filter.
do it in sign
Would
language.
you agree that what's in your pants is as dangerous as the thing in your hand? See if you can put the words together. I'm sure you can.
Well, shall we just say all guns are dangerous?
All of them.
All guns.
Wherever they are. In your waist, in your hand,
Once they're
in your
loaded, they're
pocket.
dangerous.
Let's see here. Hey, good afternoon, Carrie V, to you and your esteemed guest. Your topic is so instructive as well as educational. Oftentimes, I've heard the persons in positions of decision making speak to various models, such as what obtains in Singapore. Carrie V, please excuse the incomplete text. We'll send it. Okay, great. No problem. That's not a problem at all.
That helps.
Let me see here. Hey, Carrie V, what is the situation with the SSA Intel units? I don't know. Maybe when we come back, we can touch on that.
Unfinished issues.
What did
Lingering questions.
And that it has not been made public.
When we come back, we'll talk more about that. 4:30, we're going to take a break and be back. Keep it locked.
Parents and guardians, teach your children what is an OK touch and what is not. An OK touch is one that makes you feel happy and safe, while a touch that is not OK hurts or makes you feel uncomfortable. Children should know the difference and never keep inappropriate touching a secret. Open communication and trust in relationships will allow children to speak up about things that happen to them. Child abuse can be prevented. Education is key. To prevent child abuse, contact the Children's Authority at 996. Child protection is everybody's business.
So grateful for this precious life. Embrace it with a fearless stride. Dig so deep to turn your dreams to reality. With a bright future on your side, through every journey you will find what you've earned and accomplished. You now deserve to be. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Only you can pave the road for your legacy. Embrace life with Guardian Life. Every step is one step closer to live easy. Life, health insurance, and pension solutions. Embrace life with Guardian Life.
In a time of promises and politics, only one thing truly matters: your voice, your freedom. As Trinidad and Tobago heads to the polls, Freedom 106.5 FM brings you the clearest conversations, the toughest questions, and real issues affecting your vote. No spin, no fluff, just fearless talk radio, live analysis, and unfiltered voices from every corner of the nation. Stream us live at www.freedom1065.com and follow the discussion on our social media pages at Freedom 106.5 FM, your voice, your freedom, only on Freedom 106.5 FM.
The following is a paid political announcement.
They attack CARICOM. They undermine local institutions such as the EBC, the court, and high independent offices. Dangerous gimmicks to slow their political demise. They are coarse, irresponsible, and reckless in their handling of diplomatic relationships. Their party is in shambles, with mass resignations and in-depth public warnings from party leaders. They specialize in corruption, confusion, and chaos. They are not ready. They are not responsible. With the UNC, everyone loses. The PNM is a responsible government on a solid foundation. Together, let's write the next chapter. On April 28th, vote PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Expression is who we are. Take control.
The all-new Talk Radio.
Freedom 106.5.
Speak your mind.
Good afternoon and welcome to We the Youth.
Good afternoon and welcome back, Rudy, Jody, and Anarian. And this is We the Youth.
Episode 8.
Episode 8.
Our nation, our security.
Security is a real big thing, you know. And for some reason, I feel that, you know, the persons who are in charge and who can make a difference, I don't think that they just take it seriously.
They don't, on all sides. Because, Carrie, things become politicized and they focus on the wrong issues.
Correct. So let's take this call.
Yes.
625-2257 or 627-3223. Don't forget you can get into the conversation. You can send us a message via WhatsApp at 306-1065. Let's take this call. Let's see who's there. And let's see. Hello, good afternoon. All right, Tracy. See what's going on here? Hello, good afternoon. Okay, try us back.
And Jody, that's where we'd like to take the rest of the hour, right? You're a young person that is very engaged, especially in the career that you are focused on. I'm sure you've been keeping your ears out there listening. Have there been any new policy recommendations or ideas shared during the campaign season that made you excited or think, oh, finally, I'm hearing what I want to hear?
Before you answer, let's take this call and see who's there.
Good afternoon. Welcome to We the Youth.
Good afternoon, Carrie. Good afternoon.
Hey, buddy, what's
Carrie,
up? Talk to us.
Have you all ever discussed the sine qua non of governance?
The who?
The sine qua non of governance. For example, transparency, accountability, disclosure, accountability, and so on.
Right.
Open government. Yes, we were just making that point earlier. Go ahead.
The point is, Quarry, the point is, in my view, the PNM has a clandestinocracy.
Right. All right. So here's what we do.
Frankly speaking, Carrie, as I have said, every administration has failed when it comes to transparency and accountability. All. Because we can take any one of these topics, and which as we've been going through, and you go back in time and try to find the real data and information. You don't, because it is not in any one of their interests. It is in our interests as citizens, especially younger people, to use technology that our parents and grandparents didn't have. AI is your friend. And Aaron, you were making that point about the budget, for example.
Right, yeah.
You took budgets, you uploaded them into AI, and AI told you what is important to you.
It did, yeah, because I asked simple questions. Tell me where the most money is being spent and how it's going.
And that was why I was asking you, Jody, about the public policy. Because if you're not hearing, so did you hear anything at all that really got you excited? That, to the caller's point, that on either side that said, oh, if they get into office, we're going to have access to this information. We're going to know. Did you hear anything?
Now, I do believe that, no, I didn't hear anything, because I believe there's a lack of understanding where they don't want to address systematic corruption because they're in the corruption.
You know, there must be an opportunity for younger people to really effectively get involved in solving this problem. What are some of your ideas around that? What would be your call to action for people? We're trying to represent three generations here: millennials, Z gens, and alphas. So the alphas are really on the youngest side of the spectrum, and they would need a lot of support from their parents and their older siblings, etc. But for more like us, the millennials and the Z gens, we must have a role to play. What else can we do moving forward, especially when it comes to public policy?
Now, I know, we all know that they removed corporal punishment, right? And I think that we need something to put in place there.
Right.
And in my opinion, instead of encouraging, instead of promoting the, oh my God, why didn't you cuss the teacher mentality, they can probably implement mediation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a start.
Now, just on that note, on 2 points, Carrie, you were laughing about what happened with your teacher, right?
Yeah, boy. Big up Mr. Selena, boy.
Quick points that, Jody, you just made me remember. One is, when I was at QRC, we had Miss Angela Eiffel. She was our guidance officer. And after a few years, I think when I got into fourth form or such, she left and they never replaced her. From my research, and Aaron, you might know more about this from the special needs work that you do with neurodivergence and other things. I don't think every school has adequate coverage of a guidance officer.
No, they don't. We have guidance counselors, and I use S loosely,
Right.
per district.
And that is ineffective.
Per district and not in per school?
No,
that
not
could
per
never
school. So the same
be
guidance
sufficient.
counselor will be in school A on Monday, school B on Tuesday morning, school C on Tuesday evening, and so forth. They go there split up amongst.
So again, how many schools are one district counselor?
Probably
is for?
a couple hundred.
Probably, yeah. When you check
What?
when you check ECCE,
right,
primary and secondary, we're talking government schools,
Mhm.
you have close to 50, 60
And that is why,
per
Carrie,
district.
neurodivergent students fall through the cracks because who is really trained to identify them?
Right.
And for those of you who are wondering what that is, persons with Down syndrome, autism,
Intellectual disabilities.
right? And then on top of that, that is why crimes that are taking place in the home are left for years and the trauma is being repeated.
Right.
So again, it is very, very easy to say, oh, those young people are wayward and it's good for them. Let them shoot and kill each other and lock them up by the dozen, throw away the key. What are the older people who have resources and influence? What are we doing to ensure these types of policies? Because if it works, doesn't it benefit all of us?
Well, yeah.
It does. Yeah.
And the second thing I remembered, Jody, you kept talking about corporal punishment. In primary school, Arima Boys RC school, Mr. Claude Manette, I will never forget this man as long as I live. He would have some of our classes outside in the tuck shop or the cafeteria area. And right next to that, it's still there, is a huge tamarind tree.
Oh gosh.
Mr. Manette,
Tamarind
while he says to us, start the timetable. So you're going from 2 times all the way up, right? And while we are taking turns, he would go across to the tamarind tree and with a cutlass, he would cut a branch.
Yes.
And then he would sit in front of the class and carve it and cover it with masking tape. Jody, let me tell you, that tamarind branch never had to touch you. It did not have to come close to you.
No, you're right.
For you to remember what 11 times 12 was.
No, but hear me out, right? You talking about your teacher used to go and pick it. In the primary school, I went. They used to send us to go and pick our own whip. And you walk back with it, knowing damn well what it is going to happen.
I am telling you that if we were to have a proper consultation, Carrie, I think that this country, young people included, would vote if we had a referendum to bring some form of that back in a managed way. Now at QRC, just before it was removed, there were only 3 people who could administer it in the school.
Right.
So it was managed. It was the principal and the 2 deans, the dean of discipline and the dean of studies.
Oh.
And they knew how to administer it.
So you see, so why can't we look at that way and see if we could implement it? Because that makes sense, you know. It's not just for every and any teacher to do that.
Now, what I want to say is that I believe that removing corporal punishment, now we promoting the fact that, oh, it's okay to disrespect authority and they cannot correct you. And this is why our recidivism rate is so high. Because there's nothing in place for rehabilitation, for correction, for setting things straight.
But even as we are seeing now with the school fights, right? When you get suspended and you're going for like about a week or 2, you're coming back to do the same thing.
And
with
what happens
no
while you're suspended?
And that is it. There's no consequence.
No, there's no deterrence. And as humans, we need something to deter us from repeating the same exact mistake.
Not only does...
No, but someone sent a message. Yes, Carrie V. Tell Rudy, Mr. Manette, Mr. Roy Gate, those were the guys in Arima Boys RC school. Well, yeah.
See?
We got it.
You feel I was stepping in?
No, you're right. You're right about that.
So when you see me and you wonder why he so.
Yes, I go and look for Mr. Manette. I go and look for you.
No,
talk to Rudy. No, and say talk to Rudy for me, please.
No, those teachers, I will never forget those teachers. They really cared about you. And the way they taught us they didn't just teach us what was on the book list, they taught us about life.
Right.
And as I said earlier, Jody, to your point, they worked with our parents hand in hand. The parents knew that if the teachers had an issue with us, they were being serious and they would never disrespect the teacher in front of us.
Yeah.
Now, not to like interject or
Yeah,
anything,
no,
but
it's certainly.
But I do believe that now, especially in the society we currently have, children are making children. That is why we don't have proper parenting.
And also, when we were children, our parents used to discipline us, and we've grown up now and say, you know what? My mom used to beat me all the time for going downstairs. So you know what? I'm not going to do that with my child, and that is where it starts. So even though going downstairs without your permission from your parent was a wrong thing, and you as a child, you're not seeing that your parent is actually trying to look out for you. You now having your own child say, you know what? My mom or my dad used to do me that. I'm not going to do my child that. So she could go downstairs or he could go downstairs and do whatever it is he wants.
That is exactly the mindset they have now. That is why so much of our youths are going down a wrong path.
Correct. You're right about that. It's just about 4:45. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up this episode of We the Youth. We are talking about national security, right? So when we come back, it's so much more. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 3061065, and we will be taking your calls at 625-2257 or 627-3223. Gonna take a break and be back. Keep it locked.
This April, Freedom 106.5 FM presents Voices for the Silent, a campaign dedicated to raising awareness and standing up against child abuse. Too many children suffer in silence. It's time to change that. We're here to arm you with the tools, knowledge, and resources you need to identify, prevent, and respond to child abuse. Join us as we amplify the voices of survivors and take actionable steps to support at-risk children. Together, we can break the silence and be the change they need. Let's be the voice for those who cannot speak. Together, we can make a difference. Stand up, speak out, take action. Supported by the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Attention, horse racing enthusiasts! Free parking, free entry. Yes, you heard right. Get ready for an unforgettable Easter Monday, April 21st at Santa Rosa Park Arima, where Arima Race Club invites you to enjoy all the action absolutely free. The energy kicks off from 1:30 p.m. with 5 thrilling races, including the highly anticipated Champagne Stakes, sponsored by NLCB, open to all horses 3 years and over. Arrive early and enjoy our exciting promotion. After the first race, 5 lucky losers with $200 vouchers to place a wager in the Champagne Stakes. Experience the global thrill with simulcast live streaming from Parks in Philadelphia, Kimanas Park in Jamaica, Palermo in Argentina. MBET is live online. Call 800-4BET to sign up and enjoy convenient top-ups and withdrawals through ACH. Tune in to Freedom 106.5 FM for accelerating live coverage from pole to pole. Come hungry, a well-stocked bar, and mouth-watering food options will be available for purchase with music by a popular DJ. It's the perfect time to bring your friends and family, make lasting memories, and bask in the thrill of the races. And remember, entry and parking are absolutely free, so don't miss out. Gates open early at Santa Rosa Park in Arima. See you at the races this Monday, April 21st.
Welcome back, Freedom 106.5 FM. Just about 47 minutes after 4. Carrie V is here alongside Anarian Mason. I'm going to say a Mason, yes? Wow, that was a cool name. Rudy Hanamji, and of course the beautiful Jody Conton. And we are talking about national security. We are talking about security on the whole in our nation. And this is We the Youth. Continue sending us those messages via WhatsApp 306-1065. And of course, you can give us a call 625-2257 or 627-3223. So, Jody, I want to ask you something. Everybody is speaking about all the promises during this election season. And they're talking about, it would be very easy for persons to get firearm users license, FULs. Now, we have been having a lot of debates right here on this station about who should get or why should it be easily accessible. And some persons have been saying, well, everybody will have a gun in Trinidad and Tobago, and the debate is going back and forth. But I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think that we are a society that needs that FUL, for law-abiding citizens. What's your thoughts on that?
Now, currently, with the current state we're in, I do believe it is more important that some persons, well, probably everybody, get an FUL, well, have access to that. However, what I can say is that our society isn't educated enough.
Not even that.
Mature enough to control the. If they
we are not calm enough. Let me bring it to. We're not calm enough because here's why.
Road rage.
Exactly. And we quick to jump and cuss and get on and take away and
men does pull cutlass much less if you have access.
Well, true. You have a point.
But you see, Carrie, that is an unfortunate knee-jerk reaction because we've become so desperate. Think about it. We have no choice now but to almost look at that furthest end of the spectrum where all of us become our own police officers, where all of us become capable of inflicting deadly violence to protect ourselves. That was never what society was meant to be. That is why you have certain people who go into the military, certain people who are trained as police officers. And Jody, we were talking about that. The police service has tried some, because we know not all police officers are bad. Unfortunately, there are enough of them that give the entire thing a bad rap, and they are enabling crime, some of them. But there is something that you wanted to raise, that an intervention of the TTPS.
Can we take the call before you answer that? Let's see who's there and let's go. Hello, good afternoon. All right, try me back again. Let's see. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to We the Youth.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Concerning this FUL thing, everybody sensationalizes into absurdity. It's not everybody going to be getting a gun. They're just going to allow the FUL system to operate. And to get a FUL, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it. You have to be of sound mind. Not everybody is going to be getting a gun.
So isn't that what happens right now, Kola? Isn't that why not everybody gets one? Because you have to go through loops. So what would change?
No, what was going on now
is
they was interrupting the FUL system, so they wasn't granting any FULs. And that is why everybody who applied to FUL, and there was dilly-dallying with getting the FUL, they took them to court and they had was to grant them. So the system was interrupted artificially.
So you're saying that it was government policy to hinder or to deliberately delay the granting of FULs? Well,
in my opinion, I would say yes.
That's your opinion, right? Because
I would say yes because of legal ramifications. So that is my opinion.
All right, thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much for your call.
But yes, I think we all agree. Sometimes we don't state the obvious, but yes, I think Jody, you make it, what you meant is that once you fit the criteria, you would be granted. But you also went on to say that we are not a mature society.
No,
so hence why we would need to have guardrails.
Because
it's not go and buy one in the supermarket, right?
Because I mean, a lot of us know the way how Trinidad works is anytime you want anything, you need to have a link. So I could have a link to get an FUL. I'm not even mentally in a sound state of mind to get said FUL.
Right. So would you think that the process that they have currently is working or is not working?
Now, I cannot comment on that because I don't really have much to say when it comes to that.
Oh, right. Okay.
What we can say is that, and the caller hinted at it, there have been some cases carried before the court which proved that indeed persons who justifiably should have received their FUL, for some reason they were not, and the courts intervened. So there is some evidence there, but again, transparency.
And that brings me to think, but how would we know? How would we know what is true or false? Because I mean, they will come on these platforms on the radio and they'll make statements.
You see, that is where you have to have functioning public institutions. So for example, you should have a well-respected independent firearm user license board,
right,
made up of people and who operate independently of even the police service.
Yeah.
And that way, when they speak, when
I
they
think
say,
it should be somebody from foreign. It should be somebody from somewhere
perhaps,
else. Because
to
everybody
give it
knows
that
somebody.
level
Yeah.
of objectivity.
Somebody knows
and
somebody
that
here.
way, when they speak, people know that they say 10 people applied this. They don't have to say who, but 10 applied, 2 got it. And that's the end of it. We know what you didn't give the other 8 because all you know what all you're doing.
Yeah, they didn't meet the criteria.
But we don't trust the institutions because of how they have operated themselves.
Yeah.
No, and I do believe this is where TTPS, where we in the public, we don't really trust TTPS, because when you brought up that, you want to know who is real and who is fake. And I remember reading an article on a prominent newspaper that asked, let me get the correct thing.
Sure.
Madame Cup, how can we trust the police? How can we? And I mean, because it is noteworthy to know that the public has now lost trust, because I mean, we don't know who's on legitimate police business or not.
True, because we have been seeing it and different videos circulating on social media where bandits have been wearing police wear.
Yeah,
and we can't tell.
Where they get it from? Did they thief it off somebody's clothesline?
But Jody,
probably from the dryer or something.
We
I
should
don't know.
hasten to add. I think you were going to speak about the youth clubs.
Right. So now, Trinidad and Tobago police youth clubs, they do that where, well, in more impoverished neighborhoods where, well, communities where children are probably, it have a lot of gang violence, for example, let's just say MOVA and stuff, right? And in place, they have these things in place which maybe does influence the youth in some way. But with the amount of gang violence around them, because there's only so much these officers can do to influence them, whether they do sports or a home lesson club or whatever.
Again, resources, limited resources.
Yeah, because I'm sure that their resources are very limited to give these children a good, stable background. But do you really think that it can actually take full effect?
It by itself it can't. And that's the point that is coming out of this, is that in every sector you require multiple prongs
Right.
working hand in hand simultaneously. And unfortunately we have not closed that loop. We do things today, we do a piece over here, Carrie, in Blanchishes. We might do something in Tobago, cut a ribbon in Sangre Grande. But to my mind, look, if you just listen to our conversation for the last 2 hours, even though we have been able to be very objective and identify possible solutions, things that are being implemented, the nuts and bolts of it is that it's not properly integrated and there are too many gaps.
Now, I want to say is that you can't expect TTPS, the officers who take these initiatives, to do everything. Because I mean,
yes, that is a fair comment.
These children, I mean, a message came in where they said that sometimes these kids come from single parent households, and that in itself is trauma. And why aren't we, as a nation, providing family support services, whether it be psychological services, ever so often in these neighborhoods or in neighborhoods in general, or providing them with more opportunities to educate them or to fund entrepreneurship programs and stuff?
So, Jody, there are things like that. It's just the implementation for it is dead.
Not only that, but the resources.
The resources.
Well, yeah, the resources.
And I
too.
go back to what I said earlier. Why do you need to grow the GDP of a country? Trinidad and Tobago has unfortunately, and this is not to let it slide, we have found ourselves in a precarious position where our revenues have become so limited for all of the problems we have to face, Carrie.
Now, I know we have 2 minutes to eat up and we have to wrap up really quickly, but I have 2 messages here. Good afternoon, Carrie V and the rest of your guests. Good topic, and I agree there should be something put in school so those children will be afraid. It's not right for a child to disrespect a teacher or beat him or her. The authorities are playing games with this matter. This is coming from Barrackport. Thank you so much, Barrackport.
Thank you.
Yes. let me see. Good afternoon, Carrie V, and to your guests. What I meant is that oftentimes I overhear persons in governmental decisions making positions refer to models such as what obtained in the countries such as Singapore. However, we are yet to see evidence of such incorporated in our educational and other systems. So I know we have to wrap up, and I don't, we could probably have a little chat after 5, and I don't have nothing much, unless we want to go until 5:20. If all you up for it? To finish up the conversation? Yeah. Right, so good. So, 5 p.m. news is next, courtesy JTA Supermarket. We're going to take a break. Well, we're going to the news and be back.
The best insight, instant feedback, accountability. The all-new Talk Radio Freedom 106.5.
This is Freedom 106.5 FM, powered by the TBC Radio Network, the nation's biggest and best network, included sister stations, Sky 99.5 FM, Vibe City 105 FM, 95, The Ultimate One, Sangeet 106.1 FM, and Islam 100.5 FM. This is the 5 p.m. news, courtesy JTA Supermarket.